Many of the libertarians or self-styled libertarians, I think, really are not. They want the government to structure markets in ways that cause income to flow upward, and they call themselves libertarians because they don't want to pay any taxes. So that's basically how they see that. Now, you do have more honest libertarians that do, they won't always come to the same conclusions as me, but they do raise a lot of the same issues. They recognize copyright's government interference. They recognize that patents are government interference in the market. They recognize that the government does a lot of things to push income upwards. So I think there might be some room for common cause with at least some of those people. But I guess one of the things I would say in general, where I am very sympathetic to libertarian philosophy, is we should be very conscious of where the government's forcing people to do things and ask, is that really necessary? And I'll just give you a very concrete example. Obviously, I've worked a lot on Social Security, and I very much want to preserve that pretty much as is, not necessarily 100%, but the basic story, a core retirement income, I think is a very good one. We want to preserve that principle. We're mandating that. You don't have a choice. Anyone who works pays into it, and I think that's right. Now, basically, our private pension system has collapsed. Defined benefit plans are going down very quickly. Very few people in the private sector have them anymore. Defined contribution plans, most people haven't put much into it, and as we see, there's no security there. So what do? I would like to see us have a second tier added on to Social Security that wouldn't be mandatory, but you'd be pressured into it. Let's just, and here I'm working on some behavioral economics, finding some behavioral economics in recent years, that if we said, okay, you contribute 3% of your wages to this pension plan unless you choose not to, unless you ask not to. So the default is you contribute 3% of your wages. I think we could do something like that and probably get the vast majority of people to contribute 3%. Again, 3 is not a magic number, but a ballpark, what I think would be appropriate for this sort of second tier that's not mandatory but not fully optional either. And what you'd say in that case, or what arguments I've had with some of my friends on this, is that, well, some people won't contribute. And I would say that's right. Some people won't. But my guess is we'd probably get close to 90% of the people would contribute most of the time. Now, the question I'd ask is, how much work do we want to go through to get that other 10% to make them contribute? So if you have 10% that actively are saying, I don't want to contribute to this, I just think as a political matter, it probably doesn't make sense. We're going to make it so it's real easy for you to do it. You're going to have to jump through some hoops not to do it. But if you sat back and you've decided, no, I'm going to take my chances, we already made you contribute to Social Security, and I don't want to touch that. But if you want to say, no, I'm not contributing another 3%, I'll either provide for my retirement otherwise or other ways, or I don't care, I'd say it's probably not worth our while to use political pressure to force people to do it. It's just not good judgment. So I think that's kind of where I give the libertarians a lot of credit. We have to think carefully where we want to use the power of the state, and it would be better if everyone did it, but is it worth the power of the state to force those 10% that really say they don't want to do it? I'd say no, probably not.